getting some of what he sowed, and he's dealing with the head man of where it came from. And so if you are in something, you think you know it, until the person that designed it come, then you find out that you don't know that much about it. You were just practicing. So Jacob last week we found that he had started to have children, that he was betrayed by Laban. He thought he was going to get Rachel for the 7 years, but he gave him Leah. And Rachel despised Leah, but Leah, because she was despised by Rachel, God opened her womb and closed the womb of Rachel. And so Leah really was an innocent person. She had nothing to do with what her father did. So she was an innocent person, but she was not accepted in that sense because she was innocent. And so since she was hated, then God allowed her to have 4 children before, even actually she had 6 before Rachel had any. She had Reuben, she had Simeon, she had Levi, and Judah. And so we started in chapter 30, and when Rachel saw that let me go back. And when Rachel saw that she was barren, Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister, and said unto Jacob, give me children, or else I die. And Jacob angered, and his anger was kindled against Rachel. And he said, am I in God's stead, who have withheld from thee the fruit of your womb? So he was saying, I'm not in God's stead. I can't make children. It takes God to do that. So you're saying the wrong thing to me. Give me children or I'll die. Just like I can just, give you children. But she was angry and she was sad. And then she gave him Bilhah, verse 3, and she said, behold my maid Bilhah. And that means, her name means modest, Bilhah. Go in unto her, and she shall bear upon my knee, and I may also have children by her. So now, these was what they call concubines. Concubines were the servant for the wife. They had servants. They could give them to their husband in marriage. And didn't just say that. They actually had the control. They would marry them. So she gave him Bilhah, which means modest, and he goes under her, and she bared upon my knees, and I may also have children by her. Now, here's the thing that you want to think of. Any children that her servant had was not hers. They was Rachel's children. They were the person that owned her children. So even though she was bearing them, she would say they was mine. And so we look at verse 4. Just read verse 4. No, verse 4. And she gave him Bilhah, her handmaid, a wife. And Jacob went in unto her, and Bilhah conceived, and bare Jacob a son. And Rachel said, God hath indeed, look what it said, God hath judged me, and have heard my voice, and have given me a son. Therefore she called the name of her son Dan. Now, what do Dan mean? Let's read it again. And Rachel said, God have judged me, and have also heard my voice, and have given me a son. Therefore she called his name Dan. Judge. That was his name, judge. So God have judged me. And so his name, Dan, means judge. Then Bilhah, Rachel's maid, conceived again, and bare Jacob a second son. And Rachel said, with great wrestling have I wrestled with my sister, and I have prevailed. And she called his name Naphtali. Naphtali means what? wrestle. So she said, I wrestle with him. And so now what I want you to see, how important names are. Now, if you can remember these names, Jacob had 12 children. You can remember these names. You're going to see them spread it throughout the Old Testament and the New Testament. From each one of them came a tribe. But in their tribe, you're going to see their purpose revealed. When she said judge, you're going to see what Dan does. You're going to see what Dan does in judging. When she said that God have heard me, you're going to see what in the herd, and his name was what? Naphtali. So you're going to see what they do. All of these plays great parts, and you're going to see it when you're reading the Bible. All right. So God had judged. So here's Dan the judge. Now, and Bilhah, Rachel maid, conceived again and bare Jacob of what? Second son. And Rachel said with great, I just read that, didn't I? Yes. All right, verse 9. And Leah saw that she had left barren. She took Zilpah, her maid, and gave her to Jacob a wife. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bare Jacob a son. And Leah said, a trooper cometh. And she called his name Gad. And he's a what? Trooper. What is a trooper?
Easy to get along with.
No. They have highway troopers. They don't call them easy to get along with. What are troopers? Militaries. Soldiers. All right. And Zilpah, Leah maid, bare Jacob a second son. And Leah said, happy am I, for the daughter will call me blessed. And she called his name, what? Asher. And Asher means what? Happy. 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 All right, happy. Now, what do you see going on? Competition. Competition. And what were they competing for? Jacob's love. They was competing for his love. Because every time they would have a son, then they were saying, oh, I got a male son, so this can continue. Now, they was not excited as they were with their daughters as they were with sons. So we have more women's now than we do men, 7-1 almost. So, but then, they were concerned with males, because the name could continue on. And you're going to see why God in the beginning had more males, because these broke out into tribes. And so now she's happy. Now watch this. And Reuben went in the day of wheat harvest and found mandrakes in the field and brought them unto his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, give me, I pray thee, of thou son mandrakes. And she said unto her, is it a small matter that thou have taken my husband? And wouldest thou take away my son mandrakes also? And Rachel said, therefore, he shall lie with thee tonight for thy son's mandrakes. Now, mandrakes was a herb that grew in the field wild. And in ancient time, they said that they was Aphrodite. What that word out, DJ? Okay, y'all got it. Y'all know what it is. Okay, so no, it wasn't. All right. So Rachel wanted Leah to have her son to give her the mandrakes. And she said, not so. And so they both was competing for the love. And Rachel said, if you eat the mandrakes, then he going to want to be with you tonight instead of being with me. So the envy and the hate of sisters, and that's what polygamy does. Most all the people that was involved in that, it wasn't like there was peace in the home. Remember Hagar, the first one, where Abraham, that Sarah told him to go into Hagar, and then once he went in, Hagar got pregnant. She despised Sarah, bragged about what she was doing, and that she was better than, and Sarah beat her. So, you got 2 or 3 wives and you can't handle one, you in trouble. All right, now watch this. Verse 16. And 15. And Jacob came. Well, I'll read 15. And she said unto her, is it a small matter? I did read that thou have taken my husband. Now, look what Leah is saying. Is it a small matter that you've taken my husband? Who took who husband? Well, Leah did not take, Rachel didn't take Jacob from Leah. Leah was given to Jacob, but Rachel was the one that he worked for. He wasn't working for Leah. So he did. He loved Rachel. So she's saying to her, now Leah's saying, now, what is it that you done took my husband? And thou have taken my husband, and wouldest thou take away my son mandrakes also? And Rachel said, therefore he shall lie with thee tonight for thy son's mandrakes. And Jacob came out of the field in the evening, and Leah went in and Leah went out to meet him, and said, thou must come in unto me, for surely I have hired with my son mandrakes. And he laid with her that night. And God listened unto Leah. That's what hearken means. And she conceived and bare Jacob a 5th son. And Leah said, God have given me hire, because I have given my maiden to my husband. And she called his name Issachar. What do Issachar mean? Hired. Hired. Now, look how this is playing out. Verse 19. And Leah conceived again, and bare Jacob the 6th son. And Leah said, God have endured with me a good dowry. Now will my husband dwell with me, because I have borne his 6th son. And she called his name Zebulun. What do dowry mean? Baker. Bakery, dowry, to work in a kitchen. Food. Work with food. Look it up. Look it up. Google it. Yeah, Zebulun is his name. Gift in what?
A gift like money.
Right. Dr. Brown, will you look up dowry in the Greek, in the Hebrew? Dropped by the bride? All right. Thank you.
It's money or a gift. That's property.
All right. Thank you all.
Dowry is a possession that you have that you're giving it to somebody else.
Yes.
You're giving it to them. It's like a will.
All right. Let's read it over. You're probably right. I'm pretty sure. Let's go back. And Leah said, God have endued me with what? A good dowry. So that's a good gift. Now will my husband dwell with me, because I have borne him 6 sons. And she called his name Zebulun. All right. And afterward she bare a daughter, and called her name what? Dinah. What do Dinah mean? Dana mean what? That's what it is. Judgment. 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 That's what it is. So now, let's look at that. She have a judge, a judge. The other one also had a judge too, Dan. But Dan wasn't her child. Dan was whose child? Rachel through her maid. So now we got judges, and one is a lady, and the other one is a man. We got, not only that, we got praise. We got Reuben. Judah was praised. We got a Levi was what? No, not at the time. The priest came out of Levi. But what was Levi? John. John, exactly right. What was Dan? What was Reuben? Happy. What was Naphtali? Wrestle. Okay, now, when I am teaching the Pentateuch, I ask the students to name every one of them and tell what the name mean and what proceeded from them. Yes. Happy. Go back. Let's go back. Let's go back. If you go back to chapter 29, Reuben. Okay, Reuben is the oldest. Reuben is the oldest, and in verse Reuben, for she says, surely the Lord looked upon my affliction. She was hated, says he looked upon my affliction. Now therefore my husband will love me. And she conceived again. Well, this is the first one. And when the Lord saw that Leah was hated, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. And Leah conceived and bare a son, and she called his name Reuben, for she said, the Lord have looked upon my affliction.
That was the first one. That was the first blessing. Behold.
And behold mean what? Look. Look. And Simeon meant what? Heard. Now, heard. The Lord heard my prayer. Simeon. Then we had Levi, and Levi mean what? Joined. Joined. And Judah, praise what? Praise God. Then the next one, if we look in order of where they are, when they conceived again, Sarah, here's Rachel got angry. She gave her maid Bilhah to him, and they had a child. And the first child they had was named what? What was the first child that Bill had? Wasn't it? What was the first child that Bill had? And she gave him, Bilhah, her maid, to wife. And Jacob went in unto her, and Bilhah conceived and bare Jacob a son. And Rachel said, God have judged me. Dan. And she had another one. What was his name? Naphtali, and that means what? Wrestle. Then there was another one. What is his name? We just got Dan for judge up here. So, Trooper, Gad. Then Leah had another one, and she called him what? Because she got those mandrakes? Asher. Asher. Well, and then what did Asher mean? Happy. That's one that was happy. Then, after the mandrakes, she did what? Conceived again. What was his name? Issachar. And Issachar means what? Higher. And then, did we get the Zebulun? And Zebulun means dowry. Who else? We got Issachar. Zebulun. Zebulun. No, Zebulun was not exalted. Dwell in. Now will my husband dwell with me, because I have borne him 6 sons. And then Dana came along, she's a judge. All right, verse 22. And God remembered Rachel, and God heard, and God hearkened to her, and opened her womb. And she conceived and bare a son, and said, God hath taken away my reproach. And she called his name Joseph. What do that mean? And she conceived and bare a son, and said, God hath taken away my reproach. And she called his name Joseph. And thou shalt add to me another son. Joseph mean add. Joseph mean add. She said, God, you're going to add another son. So Joseph, because Joseph was the first one. Now, you're going to find that when Joseph was born, it was years before Rachel conceived again. And at that conception, you're going to see what happened. Now, Jacob bargained. Here he gets to the trickster. And it came to pass when Rachel had borne Joseph, that Jacob said unto Laban, send me away, that I may go unto my own place and to my country. Give me my wife and my children, for whom I have served thee, and let me go, for thou knowest my service, which I have done for thee. And Laban said unto him, I pray thee, if I have found favor in thine eyes, tarry, that means stay. For I have learned by experience that the Lord have blessed me for thy sake. In other words, I've been blessed because you was here, so stay. And he said, appoint me thy wages, and I will give it. So Laban said, tell me what you want, and I'll give it to you. And he said unto him, thou knowest how I have served thee, how the cattle was with me. For it was little which thou have before I came, and it is now increased unto multitude. And the Lord said, the Lord have blessed thee since my coming. And now when shall I provide for mine own house also? So now Jacob has been working for Laban now almost 20 years. Almost 20 years. And God blessed Laban because of Jacob. Because Jacob prayed. You remember he stopped and he prayed and put the stone there? And he said, God, if you bless me where I'm going, then I will come back and build a house here. That was a pledge that he made. Not a pledge, that was a vow he made. All right, now watch this. He tells him that. Laban is telling him he wants him to stay. And he said, what shall I give thee? And Jacob said, thou shalt not give me anything. If thou wilt do this thing for me, I will again feed and keep thy flocks. So here's what Jacob is saying. You don't give me nothing. But if you just do this thing here, I will stay and I'll feed your flock just like I've been feeding them. But watch what happened, he says. Verse 32. He said, I will pass through all the flocks today, remove from thence all the speckled and spotted cattle, and all the brown cattle among the sheep, and the spotted and speckled among the goats. and of such shall be my hire. Don't pay me nothing. Just give me the speckled cows, the speckled sheeps, the brown cows, and the speckled goats. Now that wasn't that many of them. So Laban agreed to that. And I'll feed your cattle and I'll feed mine. But that's all I'm asking for. All right? Now, so shall my righteousness so shall my righteousness answer for me in time to come, when it shall come for my hire before thy face. Everyone that is not speckled and spotted among the goats and brown among the sheep, that shall be counted stolen with me. So that's what I'm going to do. If I take some that's not brown, if I take some that's not speckled, then that means I'm stealing from you. And Laban said, behold, I would it might be according to thy word. So Laban agreed with it. Now, Jacob tries, now this is what Jacob tried to alter nature. So don't ever think that the cattle came out this way, because Jacob had them when they mate look at the white. He would tear the wood off and let them look at the milk running down, the white water coming out of the limb, and they would come out speckled and brown. It wasn't that reason that happened. The reason was that God promised to bless him. He promised to bless him. Now, what do you see Jacob doing that is a pattern? He's still tricking. He's still doing what his name says, tricking. But he thought that his plan was working because he did it. So what did I tell you? People can go miles away, but if they still doing what they were doing, they still the same person, they're going to do the same thing. And the only person you really cannot get away from, and that's the person I'm using as a human, is yourself. Everybody else you can get away from around, but you can't get away from yourself. That's why I tell people that if they think they're going to join a perfect church, the minute they join it, it's going to be imperfect. Okay, I'm sorry. Keep going. The minute they join, it's going to be imperfect. You can't. But Jacob, watch what Jacob did. And he set 3 days' journey betwixt himself and Jacob. And Jacob fed the rest of the Laban flock. And Jacob took with him rods of green poplar and of the hazel and chestnut tree, and peeled white strakes in them, and made the white appear which was in the rod. And he set the rod which he had peeled before the flock in the glitter. I'm looking at, y'all excuse my glasses. In the gutter, in the water trough, when the flocks came to drink, and they should conceive, and when they came to drink, and the flocks conceived before the rod, and brought forth cattle, ring, stripe, stake, speckled, and spotted. And Jacob did separate the lambs, and set the faces of the flocks towards the ring stake. And all the brown in the flocks of Laban, and he put his own flocks by themselves, and put them not among Laban's cattle. Now, Jacob's cattle multiplied. And they multiplied not because people saying, not because that, because if you would do that, then that means that you could change nature. He did not change nature. God did that. Because he made the vow. If you go back and he made the vow, he said, God, if you would bless me, if you would only bless me, y'all remember that? In this land, and bring me back, he said, I will build a church here at Bethel. He called the place Bethel. So he made the vow. 20 years that he spent there. So watch what happened as we come to the end of this chapter. And it came to pass, whenever the stronger cattle did conceive, that Jacob laid the rod before the eyes of the cattle in the gutter, that they might conceive among the rod. But when the cattle was feeble, see how he tricking? When they were feeble, he put them not in. So the feeble was Laban's, and the stronger one was Jacob. Now, do y'all see Jacob is still? And the man increased exceedingly, and had much cattle, men servants, maid servants, and men servants, and camels and asses. So he increased. Now, if you want to increase in what you're doing, if you trust God, I'm telling you that this is something that I would not advise you to do. You can vow in, but you can't vow out. And many times, people are hindered now because they made a vow, and they forgot about they made it or didn't do it. Let's go to, before we go to the next chapter, let's go to Ecclesiastes. See, Jacob made a vow. Let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 5. Ecclesiastes chapter 5. Chapter 5. If you have it, say amen. All right, let me get it here. Chapter 5. And we're going to start reading at verse 1. What does it say? Keep your foot when thou go what? And do what? Ready to hear than to what? Sacrifice a fool, for they consider not that they do evil. So it's to keep your foot. What it means, you walk righteous, straight. That's what it means by keeping your foot. Don't just wobble and go all this and jump over here and there. It means live. It's a pattern of life. A pattern of life. Be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifices of food. What is the sacrifices of food? Talking. It is. They consider not that they do evil. Be not rash without what? And let not thine heart be what? Hasten to utter what? Anything before God, for God is what? And thou upon what? Therefore let thy words be. For a dream coming through what? All right, now, basically, what it's saying, a multitude of business. What you do and think during the daytime, you dream about it at night. Tragedies or things like that's why people, when they see somebody get killed or see something tragic, they have to have counseling because they'll continue to see it in their dream, wake up. You know, some of the people that has been to the military and was in the war, they wake up streaming or been to prison, all of these things. So it's a multitude. That's why when people first, when they're in love, every night they dream. And you know who in their dream? The one that they live with. So, so it says, for a dream come through the multitude of business, and a fool voice is known by what? A multitude of words. When thou vowest, y'all see that? When you vow it, the vow is to seal your spirit or your soul with a covenant. That means that you said, Lord, if you do this for me, I promise you I'll do that. Okay, God gonna do what you said, but you can't vow out. Watch what it says. It says, when thou vowest a vow unto God, defer not to pay it, for he have no pleasure in what? Fools pay. And a fool is known by what? A lot of words. So pay that which thou what? Have vowed. Better it is that thou what? Should not vow than it is what? That thou shalt vow and not pay it. Suffer not thy mouth to call thy flesh to what? And neither say thou before the angel that it was a error. Wherefore should God be what? Angry at thy voice and destroy the works of thine hand. So don't make vows that you don't pay. A lot of times people don't know it, but they're suffering from what they said they're going to do for God. And God did his part. God, if you get my son out of jail, if you get me out of this, I'll do that. And when God got him out, you just start whispering, going back to doing everything you was doing. But God didn't forget it. I vowed in 1992 to give God $1 million. There's not been one Sunday since 1992 that I haven't paid on my vow. And everybody that see my envelope, when you see my envelope on Sunday, is there a vow on there? You to count money count. Have y'all noticed that vow is there? Every Sunday, I pay $100 on my vow. Because I promised him $1 million. And so I'm paying my vow. If it take me until I die, I'm going to be paying it. But I just believe somebody's going to may flip me $1 million. And I'll pay it. But don't try to get out of it. Because I promised him that. And so that's what you do. So let's go back to the lesson. That's why Jacob was blessed. He said, God, if you bless me and bring me back to this place, I will build you. And all. It was the first time, really, in the Bible that the word vow was used was when Jacob. Just like the first time was used with ties was it Abraham. All right, chapter 31. We won't get through it, but let's start on it. And he heard the words of Laban's son, saying, Jacob have taken away all that was our father, and of that which was of our father have he gotten all of his glory. Now, they blaming Jacob, but Jacob did make a deal with him, didn't he? Now his sons are saying, he's taking my daddy's stuff. Well, his daddy, watch what's going to happen here. And Jacob beheld the countenance of Laban, and behold, it was not towards him as before. So Laban now is mad at him because his son said he's taking his stuff, the cows and goats. And the Lord said unto Jacob, return unto the land of thy father and to thy kindred, and I will be with thee. And Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field unto his flocks, and said unto them, I see your father's countenance, that it is not towards me as before, but God of my father have been with me. And ye know that with all my power I have served your father, and your father have deceived me and changed my wages 10 times, but God suffered him not to hurt me. Changed his wages 10 times. 10 times. Every time God would bless him, Laban would change the rule. How would you work for a person like that? But what was God doing? He was teaching Jacob, because Jacob he tricked his brother. So he was teaching Jacob a lesson. So now this is what your uncle is doing to you. He done changed your wages. And your first cousin, don't like what you're doing. Now, he said in verse 8, if he says thus, the speckle shall be thy wages, then all the cattle here speckle. And if he said thus, the ring stake shall be thou hire, then bear all cattle's ring stake. Then God have did what? Taken away the cattle in your father and given them to me. Now here Jacob giving God credit. He said, God took them from your father and gave them to me, because I've been working for him for almost 20 years, and he's taken everything I had. And it came to pass at that time that the cattle conceived, that I lift up mine eyes and saw in a dream, and behold, the rams which leaped upon the cattle was ringstraked, speckled, and what? Gersh. And the angel of the Lord, grizzly, okay. And the angel of God spake unto me in a dream, saying, Jacob. And I said, here I am. And he said, lift up now thine eyes, and see all the rams which leap upon the cattle are ringstraked, speckled, and grizzly. For I have seen all that Laban doeth unto thee. So don't ever think, this is a good example, don't ever think God don't know the people that do you wrong. Don't ever think that God don't see the people that think they're getting over on you. God knows it. Now, he told Jacob, I know about this. I know what happened. I've seen it. I'm God. I'm God of Bethel, where the anointing, the pillar. Did I tell y'all about that pillar? Where you anointed the pillar, and where thou vowed a vow unto me. Now arise, get thee out from the land, and return unto the land of thy kindred. Get thee out. Now watch this. And Rachel and Leah answered and said unto him, is there yet any portion of inheritance for us in our father's house? So they were saying, we're leaving out of our father's house. We're leaving here. We're going to another place. What do we have that we can take with us that our father going to give us? Is there anything that we can inherit? What are we getting out of it? We're leaving, but what do we have? And notice what happened. Are we not counted of him? Are we now counted of him as strangers? For he hath sold us and have quite devoured also our money. For all the riches which God hath taken from our father, that is ours and our children. Now then, whatsoever God hath said unto thee, do it. So the wife said to him, whatever God hath blessed you with, this is yours. Let's get out of here. Then Jacob rose up and set his sons and his wives upon camels. And he carried away all his cattle, all of his goods which he had gotten, the cattle of his getting which he had gotten at Panaram, for to go to Isaac his father in the land of Canaan. And Laban went to shear his sheep, and Rachel had stole the image that was her father. And Jacob strode away unawarely to Laban in Syria, and that he told him not that he was fled, that he fled. So he fled with all that he had, and he rose up and passed over the river and set his face toward Mount Gilead. So then, Jacob thought he was slipping away. But watch what God do. When God bless you, you don't have to slip away. David said he'd make your enemies do what? And he'll set a table before you in the presence of the enemy. We're going to stop here. Now I will take questions. Let me see what verse is this I'm stopping on.